I believe the best teams are teams that are empowered to solve a problem for the customer that makes sense for the customer and the business. However, that's not a hard and fast rule. There are situations where it is not a good idea to do empowerment. That's interesting because I always when I started, I was very kind of dogmatic. This is always applied. You should always empower. But life is tricky that way. It's not always simple and straightforward. There are times when it doesn't make sense. So I'll give you an example. A CEO came to me for advice. He wanted to empower his team, so he let them be empowered. The problem was the result was not what he wanted, and he felt awkward in trying to instruct the team of which direction to go because he already empowered them. So he didn't know what to do. The team was frustrated because they felt like they just kept trying to do things, but it wasn't meeting the expectations of the CEO. So overall, really good intentions of wanting to empower the team, but the end result was not good. So the advice that I gave to the CEO was I introduced a decision matrix. So it's a 2x2. I learned it from, I saw first from Keith Raboy. And basically the question is, when do you delegate? And so if there's a decision that is, the consequence of the action is not that much of an issue, and the leader is unsure, lacks conviction, then just delegate, completely delegate. It doesn't matter. You're not sure, the end result is not impactful, it doesn't matter. What happens if your level of conviction is high, but the consequence of the decision is not important? Once again, just don't worry about it. Just let them do it and use it as a learning point, use it as a learning opportunity so that you can teach them after it happens. Now we're going to talk about the two other examples. What do you do when it is important, the consequence of the decision is important, very impactful, but you're not sure? In that case, it's better to supervise very closely and instruct your team, this is what I need more data from, and let's review the information together. But you can't just let them decide because the results, the consequences of the decision are big. And there's the final quadrant, which is, what do you do when you have high conviction of what needs to happen and the consequences of the actions could be catastrophic? You overrule. You tell them, this is what we're doing. I'm not delegating anymore. This is what we're doing. However, the advice that I provided to the CEO was explain to them. Say, this is the situation. This is why this decision is so important and so potentially catastrophic if you make the wrong decision. This is why I have such high conviction in my decision, and this is what we're going to be doing. Now, one more note. If you want to create an empowered team culture, it doesn't mean it's always empowered. So there are times when you need to step in and overrule. And in those times, I think it's important to be clear and to communicate and say, look, this is why I want to, in the long term, create an empowered team. However, in this season of the company, whether it's the first month, several months, etc., until we make enough money where we're self-sustainable or we get our next investment, we're in wartime. And in wartime, if we go in the wrong direction for one day, 1 hour, it's catastrophic. So for this next season, I'm going to take over and I'm going to either overrule or I'm going to tell you where I need more information. However, once we hit this milestone and we can get beyond this, I don't want to keep doing this. I want to move back to an empowered team, but right now, this is why we need to move in this model. And I think that's the best you can do. And you can explain to the team, this is why we're doing this. And if they're not on board, then they may not be the right people to be on board. But if they're true missionaries and they really believe in the mission, and they know that for the mission to succeed, you have to be alive as a company, then they'll be on board and they'll be flexible. So that's why it's so important to get the right people on the bus in your company when you begin. Missionaries, they'll understand. Mercenaries, they may be offended because this is below their title. They were promised that they can be the VP of whatever. But missionaries, they're just like, all right, let's get it done. So hope that's helpful. I'd love to hear from you if there were cases where you would try to empower the team, where you received empowerment and it didn't go well, and how you handled it. All right, have a great day.